Hey, I just figured I'd do a quick video on moving cows. It seems to be a little bit of a thing people do on ranches, at least on some ranches that I worked on. Some are good, some aren't so good with this thing. And I just want to put a little background on this. I worked on a ranch that was owned by a bunch of guys that owned a feedlot. And their method was of moving cows. Now, they used quads in this place, there was no horses. They didn't really encourage horses. They said we could have them, but they didn't encourage it, and they didn't make any space for it. So on this place here, what they would do is when they moved cows and pairs, they would push those as hard as they could. Everything had to be running, whether it be 1 mile, 2 miles, or 3 miles. They had to run everything flat out. If the cows weren't running, they'd start screaming at us for real, just yelling at us and cursing, trying to get us to move them faster. And basically, if you weren't on 2 wheels on your quad, if you didn't spend your time on 2 wheels, they were after you real bad. So that's how the one ranch did it. And we experienced so many times they would run a mile, run 2 miles, and then all of a sudden everything would turn around and just double back. And you were just like flying around like crazy to hold these cows. Now, that was the bosses. There would be several of the bosses are out there, several of the owners out there screaming around on their 800 quads, just yelling and screaming and just overall creating a big ruckus. So that was I would say that'd be my second experience moving cows, and I did that for a year. It was aggravating the whole time. When I did it myself, I moved them nice and slow. One thing to remember when you're moving cows is cows going from A to B don't go from A to B in a straight line, generally, unless you're running them, which is what they did to try to save time. So what we found, I learned basically through trial and error after watching what they were doing and not being comfortable with it at all, was let's move cows nice and slow. And that way we're not going in a straight line anymore, but we're zigzagging across the pasture, basically big zigzags, right? Cows will do that. They'll kind of pick their terrain and they'll kind of walk around. And so what might take, half an hour of running cows flat out to get them from point A to point B and messing with them, trying to run back, we might spend, an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours. But when we done moving cows, we weren't fighting calves running back to find their mamas and mamas running back to find their calves where they last ate, right? So that could be a mile back, it could be 2 miles back. So we learned that. What is the term? There's a term out there, fast is slow and slow is fast, or smooth is slow and slow is fast. Anyway, whatever that works out to. Just moving cows, it's important to remember cows do not go from point A to point B in a straight line unless you're chasing them hard. Cows will naturally choose the terrain. They'll choose all kinds of things. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense why cows do their zigzag, but they do. And if you can gently move them, gently back and forth without really a rush, if you've got a deadline, it's probably the worst thing you could ever do is decide to go move cows the day you've got a deadline. Anyway, just a quick tip, moving cows.